The arrest of Dr. Pierre-Damien Habumuremyi, former Prime Minister of Rwanda, was one of the top cases mentioned during a presser between the National Prosecution Authority and the Rwanda Investigation Bureau. The Prosecutor General Habumuremyi Aimable indicates that the prosecution of Dr. Pierre-Damien Habumuremyi was carried out in accordance with the law, and that according to the OCT of the prosecutor, he should be provisionally imprisoned as other charges are still being investigated. These charges were presented after his arrest.
Iyo tubonye ko hari ibyaha tukabona n'ibimenyetso by'ibyo byaha, uwo muntu wari we wese arakurikiranwa kuko nta muntu uri hejuru y'amategeko.
Regarding the case of Pierre-Damien Habumuremyi, who is the former Prime Minister, I would like to remind you first that no one is above the law. When we find that there is one offense and the evidence is there, that person or anyone is prosecuted because no one is above the law. In fact, according to the law, the principle is that the prosecution is done while the concerned is not in detention. But there are people who would have been afraid to present the accusation because they knew that he was a leader, former Prime Minister at that. And our finding was that if the prosecution is carried out while he is free, he might suppress some evidences. There are those who say that he pleaded guilty to the money. Can't he enjoy the freedom and pay it back? I would like to inform you that during the investigation we asked him if he has any assets to which he can use to reimburse those people, and he replied that he would look everywhere. What I'd like to explain here is that in addition to those of whom he signed bounce checks to of over 200 million Rwandan francs, there are other people to whom he owes money, namely the buildings he rented, the banks. So the debt that he had to repay is 1.5 billion Rwandan francs. And then the goods he would own or through mortgage in various banks, which means that currently he does not and could not show where he can get the money to pay back the debts or to the people whom he had given bounced checks.
Arayo kwishura imyenda cyangwa se yo kwishura abungabo yagiye aha sheke itazigamiye.
The Prosecutor General also returned to the case of entrepreneurs, including Mubiri Alfred, who is accused of misappropriation of agricultural inputs, and stressed that the result of the investigation confirms the reason for the arrest.
Barwiyemeza mirimo dukurikiranye abenshi harabatwaye iyo fumbire.
Most of the entrepreneurs we are pursuing have diverted agricultural inputs, and it has been that some do not distribute them to the farmers, and there are others of those inputs that were made by RIB while they were going to sell them outside the country. And the question is why these people are selling these products contrary to the signed agreements. And then according to the investigation, they made lists of fictitious names of people who are not from the region, and even amplified the quantity of kilos distributed. It is on this basis that we accuse them of falsifying the documents.
Ahoro niho duhera tubakurikiranaho inyandiko gukoresha inyandiko mpimbano.
According to Rwanda Investigation Bureau, since 2018, it has investigated 43,279 cases, 54,757 in 2019, and 30,779 since the beginning of this year. The Eastern Province comes first in terms of the number of crimes, while the city of Kigali occupies the first three places where many offences are committed. Nyamasheke district is the only district where there are few offences. The Secretary General of the Rwanda Investigation Bureau, Colonel Juno Ruhunga, says the increase in offences has nothing to do with their enforcement, and that this body is pleased that the crimes have significantly decreased. For example, for armed crimes, we are at 0, both for this year and last year. Same for kidnappings. From January until now, no crime of terrorism. Security is in good shape, and some crimes are decreasing noticeably. Those related to security, as I said, people are now made aware and are approaching the justice system for justice to be done. The press conference comes at a time when the COVID-19 was reported in various remand posts. However, with the number of people being released, these organs have warned that this release does not prevent them from being prosecuted and justice being done.